Attorney General Eric Holder coming under fire for his reaction to the rioting in Ferguson after taking what Charles Krauthammer called a, quote, astonishing tone, and even suggesting that this case reflects some serious issues with police across the country. Trace Gallagher live in our West Coast newsroom with more. Hi, Trace.
Hi, Shannon. You know, throughout his term, Attorney General Eric Holder has been much more willing to weigh in on racial issues than President Obama. Back in August, when Michael Brown was shot, Holder was criticized for intimating that Ferguson police had some race issues. Milwaukee, Wisconsin County Sheriff David Clark accused Holder of demonizing law enforcement. And now, in response to the unrest in Ferguson for the past 2 nights, Holder's comments are again being compared to the president's. First, listen to what the president said.
Burning buildings, torching cars, destroying property, putting people at risk. That's destructive, and there's no excuse for it. Those are criminal acts.
Now listen to the Attorney General, especially the phrase at the very end. Play it.
It is clear, I think, that acts of violence threaten to drown out those who have legitimate voices, legitimate demonstrators, and those acts of violence cannot and will not be condoned.
Did you hear it? Well, in case you missed it, Fox News contributor and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer did not. Here's Charles.
He is the Attorney General of the United States, and he uses the word condone. Is there anybody who thinks that arson and looting ought to be condoned? I think that is an astonishing statement by an Attorney General.
But many believe the Attorney General is on the right track and that he should double down by filing federal charges against Officer Darren Wilson. One group that defends police officers agrees that we should rely on the legal system, but without authority figures trying to sway the outcome. Shannon.
All right, Trace, thank you very much. Joining me now, J. Christian Adams, former Department of Justice attorney. All right, what do you make of how Eric Holder is handling this situation?
He's handling it miserably, Shannon, from the very beginning. He went to Ferguson, he took sides, he injected race into this. He got everybody in Ferguson thinking that an injustice actually occurred. He misbehaved as the Attorney General. And then he has the audacity to not condemn in the strongest terms this militant, radical, wicked anarchy that we're all seeing on our TV sets. Don't forget, Shannon, the police in this country are what separates us from this mob. And for Holder and his Department of Justice, where I used to work, to take the anti-police attitude that they have is astonishing. And I can assure you, the lawyers who work there have an anti-police attitude. Holder is only representing the people who work for him.
All right. Well, you know, this is an Attorney General who said not long ago to our own Juan Williams that he very much 1,000% wants to be viewed as an activist. Do you think that's part of the way that he's handling this, the fact that the DOJ has launched investigations against police departments, more than 24 of them across the country?
Well, no Attorney General in American history has said anything like that. Not Janet Reno, not the great Ed Meese. None of them have behaved like this Attorney General. And the reason, Shannon, is because Holder is using the hope for the mob that there will be charges in this case to push a wider anti-police policy. He's threatened what are called best practices. You can be sure the best practices favor the criminals, as usual with this administration. But Shannon, I can tell you, and I've reported, there are going to be no federal charges in Ferguson. The lawyers at the Justice Department know this is a dog case. The FBI has told Eric Holder in the Trayvon Martin matter with George Zimmerman, it's a dog case. But Holder will not publicly announce that he's shutting these investigations down because he wants to stoke the mob.
All right. Well, we know that he visited with the family. He's visited in Ferguson. He visited with the parents of Michael Brown, and they said that that was a big step towards them, hopefully at some point being able to trust the system again, or to be able to regain their trust in the government in the process. He is now publicly saying, hey, despite what happened with the grand jury, the federal investigation continues, seeming to give some hope to those who want to see Officer Wilson punished or, you know, in trouble in some way, that may actually happen. happen. But based on the law as it stands and the testimony of the witnesses and the physical evidence, including the autopsy that was done at the request of the parents, where does the Attorney General go from here with regard to those civil rights violations and potential other federal activities?
What he'll do is he'll keep up the facade to the family, to the civil rights agitators, to civil rights agitators like the NAACP and Barbara Arnwine at the Lawyers Committee, that there's a chance there's going to be charges. But anybody who knows the facts knows there's not going to be charges.
Well, we will stand by, because in this case, you never know what's going to happen. J. Christian Adams, always good to see you. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
All right, next up, Michael Brown's mother on the claims that her husband helped to stoke the violence on the streets after the grand jury decision.